Who remembers what it is that we have been talking about? Or who? I'll accept a who. You have a what? You didn't raise your hand. Abram. Abram, who becomes known as Abraham. So we're kind of going to sum up Abraham's life. We know he was called to leave his home where his father had raised him and take his wife and his household, which is to say his servants and all of his animals, and go into a distant land, right? And God promised him something. He promised that in him all the nations of the world would be blessed, because he was going to be, what does Abraham mean? Father of many. He would be the father of many nations. Why was that odd? Why did that seem unlikely? Abraham was old. Abraham was really old. Who's the oldest person you know? Seraphim. Who's the oldest person you know? Ah, you're going to go sit down. Bravo, sir. Maria. Who's the oldest person you know? Don't say Yaya. So how old? Maybe 75, 80, 85? Anybody know someone who's 90? Orea. So, 95 years old. Who said 95? Very good. Are they still having children? No. Anybody know anyone 90 years old who's still having children? Not so much. It's not quite the thing. That's not the season of life. Right? Right? When you're that old, you're done having kids. Maybe grandkids, but that's someone else's work. That's why it's nice to be a papu and a yaya, right? You get the beautiful, cute kids, and you don't have to do the work and stay up late at night. This is what I hear, at least. So, I hear a telephone. And thank God it isn't mine. So, if Abraham is old, way too old to have children, and his wife Sarah is also too old, then why is God promising that he'll have many children? He'll be the father of a great nation. That seems strange. That's why it's odd. That's why it's surprising. And Abraham, he gets a little bit worried about this, so worried that first he takes a younger wife and has another son with her. That's Ishmael, right? And God says, I'll bless Ishmael. He's your son. Wonderful. But that's not the son I promised you. Stop trying to do it yourself and wait, right? That brings us up to where we are. Because one day, Abraham is sitting in front of his tent. You can imagine the tent back behind here where the altar is, and it's probably a big tent because Abraham was rich. He's sitting there enjoying the evening, and he pitched his tent close to a well-known big old tree, an oak tree. You know what an oak tree looks like, right? This is the oak of Mamre. He's a guy who lived close by, so it's Mamre's oak, right? So Abraham has his tent there, Abraham is here, and the big tree is over there, right? Seraphim's going to the tree. So, and Abraham, as he's sitting down, he sees something surprising. Now, it depends which language you read. It says near the tree in some versions. It says under the tree in some versions. But one of the versions says above the tree. He saw 3 men. And he ran out. And he worshipped them. Now, if they're under the tree, that seems like strange behavior. If they're next to the tree, that seems odd. But if they're up in the air, coming down to the ground, then to run out and worship them makes sense. And this is what he does. Abraham knows From the moment he sees these three coming down, these are from heaven. And when he bows down, the angels, we say angels, they accept his worship, which is unusual. Other times, if someone tries to bow down to an angel, they say, "Don't bow to me, I'm a servant like you. I'm nobody special." But when he bows down, the angels accept it. So he says, "All right, you sit down, I'm going to get a meal for you, I'm going to kill the lamb, I'm going to make some bread, we're going to make a feast." So Abraham's Greek. Kala. Not as funny as I was going for. But this is where we get it. He shows philoxenia, he shows hospitality. He makes the big meal, and he serves it. And that's what the icon shows, which is why I brought it from home to show, because I don't think we have it anywhere on the walls. So this is Abraham bringing food. He's on the one side here, and Sarah, his wife, is on the other side. And then we have the three angels. Now, there are two things that are important in this story. First, Sarah is 90 years old, way too old to have children. Abraham is 99, way too old to have children. But God tells him, "Next year, you will have a son." And Sarah laughs. Because that's a funny joke. She's old, and she's going to have a baby. And Abraham says, "What about Ishmael?" And God says, "Ishmael's fine. Stop pestering me about Ishmael. You're going to have a son with your wife, Sarah. You'll call his name Isaac, because you're laughing at me, but it's going to come true." Because Isaac means laughter, which is good to know, right? So, that's the one thing that's important. God makes a promise, and a year later, sure enough, they have the baby. The other thing that's important, this is the icon that we use to show the Holy Trinity, right? Sometimes you might see the other version of the icon, the one that shows God the Father as an old man with a white beard and a Star of David behind his head, and Jesus as normal and the Holy Spirit as a dove. This is a more recent icon. It's not accurate. It's not orthodox. Even if sometimes we see it on Mount Athos, because the people who were paying for the icons were coming from the West and it was complicated. So, don't worry too much about it. But this is the icon that we use to show the Holy Trinity. Not because the one angel is the Father, the one angel is the Son, and the one angel is the Holy Spirit. No. The Father and the Holy Spirit do not appear in human form. The Son becomes a human being, right? That's important. So that's the Son. That's Jesus. Before he becomes incarnate, he shows himself in human form, anticipating his incarnation. And the two angels who come with him, they come to show the number of the Trinity, that they act as one, but there are three persons there. So that is the icon that we use in the Orthodox Church to show the Holy Trinity. The center angel, the one that Abraham talks to as God, and that God, and that acts like God and accepts his worship, this is the Son of God. This is Jesus Christ, the Lord. The other two are only angels, but they show in their number and in their presence and their cooperation with the Son the unity of the Godhead. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, which is why we make our fingers like this. Three, but one, right? So, if anyone ever asks, you can actually do this. Don't be mean about it. But if you look around in any churches that are called after the Holy Trinity, the Church of the Holy Trinity, we have all of our kids are at a Church of the Holy Trinity in Grand Rapids right now, the older kids. I should ask them, what kind of icon did they have? Did they have the right one? The Orthodox one that shows the hospitality of Abraham to the Son of God and the two angels with him? Or did they have the old man and the young man and the bird, which is less orthodox, we might say. So Major point, God fulfills his promises. And this icon shows him making the promise. Other point, this is the icon of the Holy Trinity. When you watch, when you look for icons, this is what you should see. You kiss the hand of the middle angel because this is the hand of the Lord, of Jesus Christ, right? So with that in mind, let's stand up and receive communion